தமிழரின் பிம்பம் உங்கள் டிவி.
Good afternoon, dear viewers. Welcome to CrossRoads on TVI. I'm your host, Parthi Kandaval. The City of Toronto is currently in the middle of a healthy debate over the possibility of a casino in our city. A casino, with its obvious tax revenues, will allow will allow the city and province to improve our government services or pay down the deficit. However, with the casino comes additional social problems that have far-reaching consequences to some families and neighborhoods. To discuss this important issue our city is facing, we are joined with Maureen McLeod, founder of the No Casino in Toronto movement, and James Thome, an urban planning student. Welcome, Maureen. Welcome, James. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. So I think to start off our discussion, I think it's important to understand the context and maybe the history of gaming in our province, at least. It wasn't always the case. You know, if looking at the history of our province, it's a very recent phenomenon, the introduction of gambling in casinos. Maureen, could you tell us a little bit about that?
In the 1990s, the Ontario government got into the gaming business, and it has been at slots at racetracks for about 13 years. And in 2011, they decided to look at the program and to do a modernization, of what they called it. At that time, they decided that they were going to take the slots out of racetracks and abandon the racetrack industry and set up 28 casinos throughout the province of Ontario. They want to take their profits of $1.7 billion that is current and actually escalate it to over $3 billion. And that has us very concerned, because who are they going to get this money from? And we see it as local people in the locality of any casino that is not going to be tourists. So that is what started us. I don't know if there's any other, that's really a thumbnail sketch of what's happening, but that's it. They also want to then take slots into local stores, Walmart, bingo halls. That's the second phase. But we're just dealing on the first phase now, which is putting the casinos throughout Ontario. And the pin of the whole plan is this large mega casino in downtown Toronto. And that is what now we are focusing our fight on, that large downtown casino in Toronto.
Which, you know, I guess begs the second question. Why? Is your organization or the movement you're part of, why are you against the casino in Toronto?
Well, the first thing that we would worry about is when you put it in the downtown area, it will cannibalize the businesses around it. That is an enormous problem. The OLG likes to glaze over that and say, no, this is fine. But you look at any of their plans, and all the businesses around will be affected. And other cities where they have done this, a lot of businesses, restaurants, retail around the casino have gone out of business. And that is a huge concern. And the second concern that is enormous is the traffic and infrastructure. Anyone that goes to downtown Toronto will see it's a problem that as a city, we will lose billions of dollars. The whole GTA, loses about $1 billion a year because of gridlock.
You mentioned restaurants being affected.
Yes.
I mean, one may argue, just to play devil's advocate, is that they'll see additional revenue because of the increased activity?
No. It's. Do you want to speak to that, James?
Yeah.
About it being
the way casinos are designed is they're kind of an inward-facing box. And once you're in the casino, the operators really just want to keep you in there. So they'll have their own restaurants within the facility, and they'll encourage you to visit those rather than leave the building and maybe not come back. So they want to keep you in as long as they can. And they have entertainment facilities, they have restaurants, they have clubs, they have theaters, and they'll all be directly subsidized by gambling revenues, and giving them an unfair advantage over all the other theaters and entertainment facilities in the city.
You also mentioned gridlock. How would that work in terms of the downtown core?
Oh, well, for a casino, they would require with these current plans, up to 11,000 parking spaces. Now, a casino works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it would be thousands of additional cars coming into the city And people do drive to a casino. There's the hope that they will be leaving with a lot of money. They tend not to take public transit. And down there now, anyone that goes down to the ACC or any other event there, you realize how the gridlock and the problem that exists now. This would be adding it. The additional problem would be make Toronto almost unworkable downtown.
From what I understand, one of the arguments by the people who are for a casino argue that the revenues that the city and the province would receive could go into transit funding and the expansion of our public transit.
Can I address that, James?
Yeah. Well, the revenues that we've seen proposed for this casino have just been ridiculous. And there's been a pattern too. First we heard Rob Ford saying 200 million, and then there's the Ernst & Young report that was presented to council saying up to 168 million. Now the OLG, the ones that will be giving out the money, are saying between 50 and 100 million, which is, there's a pattern going on here. So we can't expect that much. And as for investing in infrastructure, 75 million would get you 250 meters of subway. So it's really just a drop in the pan. It couldn't really address any issues.
In terms of the effect it has on neighborhoods, one argument that many hotel union workers, hotel workers union is in support of this casino bid, and their argument is that it'll bring jobs to, obviously to their industry, but to similar industries and environments. For a lot of people who are struggling in this economy, that can be seen as a boon, as a help, as an opportunity. How do we balance those economic interests?
Well, once again, we question the numbers. They are saying up to 10,000 jobs, and you can give the statistic.
10,000 jobs is being tossed around a lot, and that's more than the Oshawa GM plant and the Oakville Ford plant combined. So it's just they're throwing out round figures. And also, downtown Toronto is one of the most desirable sites to develop on, so there's going to be development there no matter what, and there's going to be new jobs as well. And also with casino jobs, as someone that's going to be looking for a job in the near future, is this really the type of jobs that we want downtown, or anywhere in the city or the province for that matter? I've been told that casino employees are 70% more likely to develop problem gambling issues, so these aren't the type of jobs that Ontarians need.
And we do question the numbers seriously because they are very inflated, and there's been no plans. There's nothing concrete given to us, and so we're being asked to, the council is being asked, we don't even have a vote on this, the council's been asked to vote on a plan that has, the figures are inflated all over the board, the revenue, and the same with the jobs, and everyone questions the number of jobs. We don't believe it. Plus, we argue there'll be a net loss. You take the slots out of the racetracks, that will affect the horse racing industry, which is 30 to 55,000 jobs, and it's the second largest agricultural business in Ontario. And then you put it in the downtown area, and there will be job loss, like family-owned restaurants will go out of business. That is a given. So you are going to have those jobs lost. We question also about the hotel industry. Right now, they're holding out comps. They're saying we will comp you. Well, part of it, one of the problems of the comps is that is given to a problem gambler. Someone that bets a lot of money and loses it is given a comp to a hotel or a restaurant. So there's a question on that. The second thing is we also question their numbers. They are just throwing them out, and we don't believe they have any validity.
Okay, let's hear from one of the supporters of the casino bid. It's from the Toronto Board of Trade. Let's play clip one.
The opportunity that tourism can do for this community. Over 270,000 people directly employed in tourism and hospitality, working as bellmen, restaurant operators, front desk employees. Hotels employ accountants and salespeople and administrators. It's a huge economic engine already in this community, but it's a very competitive business. What I want to really stress is tourism, just like any other aspect of a consumer, they have choices. They can meet in Vancouver, they can meet in Chicago, they can meet in Washington, D.C., San Diego, they can meet in Miami Beach. And all of these destinations have amazing convention facilities that we have to compete with every day. And we already are doing quite well. We're quite pleased with the dozens of conventions, hundreds of thousands of convention delegates. This gives us an opportunity, as Mr. Bradford mentioned, to have a world-class, brand new convention facility, which we will be able to sell and attract hundreds of thousands of convention delegates, consumers, shoppers, diners, nightlife enthusiasts, and hotel guests to this community. And it's a huge economic opportunity for us.
Okay, two things stood out to me. I guess the first one was the attraction of tourists and the additional revenues that will come from that, the increased business, hotels, restaurants, and other attractions would see. Why would that be a bad thing?
We don't believe that will attract the tourists that they're claiming. Number one, if they talk about high-rolling international tourists, they would bypass Macau or Las Vegas that are dedicated to gambling to come to Toronto, where even if your winnings, you're going to be more highly taxed than these other places. The second thing then would be American tourists. Now we're losing American tourists because of our high dollar and problems at the borders. The two casinos that are near them at the border, Niagara Falls and Windsor, are losing money. Since 2008, the casino industry has been on the decline. So Windsor, as they say, is bleeding billions of dollars a year. So why would they come to Toronto as a destination to see a casino? And we have all those other tourist attractions. You can just name them. We've got sports, entertainment, great restaurants. We have them. We don't need the casino complex to bring these tourists. And then the point is then that the tourists that do come to Toronto, if the casino brings them in, we are actually taking away from our developed tourist industry and will actually jeopardize them as well, to jeopardize their revenue.
James?
Yeah, he was stressing in that clip how important a convention center is. And to be honest, the Metro Convention Center is kind of an eyesore as it is. So a new convention center would be great, but we don't need to rely on a casino to get it.
The Board of Trade and other proponents, they argue that it's not strictly just a casino. They call it an integrated entertainment complex. So, with an enhanced convention center and other amenities, and that would create as not a stark and image like when we think of Las Vegas or anything. It's going to be integrated. It'll be subtle. It'll be into the it wouldn't stand out as an eyesore in the typical sense we have of casinos. So if they're projecting that as the argument against the normal look of a casino, what's wrong with that if it blends into the landscape?
Well, casinos, like I said earlier, they're designed to keep people within. So they may have a nice facade, but once you get in there, it's slot machines that are designed to make you lose, or designed for the house to win, and designed to keep you enclosed within that area.
That is their business model, and it's true because the Toronto Board of Health has voted against a casino. They're recommending to the city that they do not have this expanded gambling in downtown Toronto specifically. They were actually very pointed about downtown. But they said, if you're going to do it, these are the 10 points. There's 10 points that we think we would advise you to adopt. One of them is not to be open 24 hours a day. One is not to have ATM machines. Another is to stop the rewards program that I was talking about.
Comps.
And I was at a meeting where Rod Phillips, he was presenting to Vaughan, and when they questioned him on those two, particularly on the 24 hours and the rewards program, which are very would lend to addiction, he said two things. One, he said, no, our business plan does call for 24 hours a day. And the second thing he said about the rewards plan, which was very startling, is he said that helps us keep our eye on who are the problem gamblers. So what they're saying is they encourage the problem gamblers just so they will know who they are. It defies reason. And in other words, they are not going to change their business model, and their business model works to get people addicted because that's how they make their money.
And going back to the development proposal, the casino floor size is huge. I think it's about 10 acres of actual casino floor space. They keep saying it's only 10% of the development, but this is a gigantic development, and which 10% is still a huge casino. This is much bigger than anything else in Ontario, in Canada. It's a giant proposal.
From what I understand, one thing council, I may be wrong on this, they voted for a temporary casino. Has that vote happened?
My understanding is they voted just to move ahead. They didn't close it down. Executive committee didn't close it down, and they said they need more facts, and they are going to vote for it on April 34th. I'm not aware that they said to a temporary casino.
If that is the case, what is the harm in the City of Toronto in a way, if we're making a decision on a car as family, as homeowners or whatnot, we test it out. We take a test drive. Yeah. What are the arguments against that approach to this question?
Well, it wouldn't be really a test drive, right? You're still getting locked into the casino. So you have this thrown together casino in the meantime until you get this new gigantic casino. And they did something similar to this in Detroit. They set up a temporary casino until the new fancy one was done. But the casino companies ended up pulling out and the city was left just with the temporary casino.
But wouldn't it allow our citizens, City of Toronto residents and citizens, to get an idea of whether the numbers make sense? Because right now, the two sides are arguing over the numbers, whether it's employment numbers or revenue numbers. It gives an idea to gauge that allows to project with the permanent one.
I'd say they have to come up, the OLG and the province of Ontario have to come up to every municipality that they are proposing this to and say, this is what you will gain. This is the exact numbers. I don't think a temporary one would work. I think we would just get messed around again. I think we have to have the facts, and that's what the council has to vote on.
And council is voting on a permanent casino. That a temporary test drive isn't up for
not on the agenda. Adam Vaughan, well-known city councillor, to the media, with CBC Media, he commented on, he wants to see what good jobs would be replaced by bad jobs. What was he referring to by that?
I would assume he's talking about the cannibalization of the work around. I haven't heard that clip, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
But that is what the strongest argument. For example, Ken Greenberg, who is an eminent architect, he's based in Toronto, and he has been called into Atlantic City, St. Louis, and I believe Detroit. to do a rescue. They took the downtown casino as a revenue generator in their cities. It is such a disaster that they have called him in to do a rescue plan to try to revitalize their downtown. It truly is a very, very bad plan. And it's a desperation move on the part of the province of Ontario, and they're forcing municipalities because they need the revenue. They have better ways. We have much more talent in the city and other places.
And on that note, in comparison with other cities, the second thing that stood out to me from that clip was the use of the term Toronto becoming a world-class city. Is that possible? What are your thoughts?
I would say Toronto already is a world-class city. We're a spectacular city, one of the most diverse cities in the world, with the third biggest entertainment district in the world behind New York and London, and just great park system, great people, great just great city, great libraries, great everything,
What do you think is the mandate behind those who are pushing it? Is it strictly commercial, those who are pushing for a casino?
It's strictly commercial, strictly for money. Whenever you hear someone or see the quotes in the news about for pro-casino quotes, they're always coming from someone that has a vested interest in this development going through.
And the developers that are the big players are MGM, Las Vegas Sands, and Caesars. Now, two of them, Caesars and MGM, are billions of dollars in debt, and the Sands are currently under investigation by the U.S. Attorney General's office for alleged bribery and money laundering crimes. So they're not great people to be bringing into our city.
Okay. It's time for a quick break.
Okay.
Dear viewers, please join us after the short break. Welcome back, dear viewers. Today on Crossroads, we're discussing the proposed bid for a casino in Toronto. We have a caller on line 1. Sivakumaran, can you please go ahead?
Take my call?
Yeah, thank you for calling Crossroads. Go ahead.
Yeah. There's a saying in English, what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? And what shall it profit a city if it gains billions and millions of dollars and lose its great citizens for poverty, addiction, and misery? What's the use? You make people sick and then treat them. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sivar Kerwin. That was an awesome comment. It ties in exactly with what I wanted to ask you guys to the social costs and social problems associated with gambling.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the Toronto Board of Health has voted against a casino and the expanded gambling in Toronto specifically because of the problem gambling. And if you escalate, as I said, 1.7 billion to 3 billion, you will be pushing people to gamble. You put it in an area that's accessible by walking, a car or TTC, or you will the problem gambling will increase, and it is devastating to families when it happens.
And what are some of those associated side effects or problems with gambling addiction?
Was everything from physical health issues to social issues. So the strain it puts on your family, the strain it puts on your work, but also most importantly, it's on your finances. Right? There's the OLG loyalty programs have recorded one-day losses of up to $500,000. So this is a devastating impact. This is, if you compare it to alcoholism, not to denounce alcoholism, but a night of unrestrained drinking compared to a night of unrestrained gambling, as long as you don't get behind the wheel, is relatively harmless.
And what are the effects on families and perhaps the younger ones in a family whose parents or parent might be addicted?
Oh, it's absolutely terrible, because they say it isn't just the one person. It's for one person that it's like a pebble going into the water. How it moves out. That they lose their jobs, their homes. There are suicides that are not spoken of. It's not a subject you hear about. But as we have found, because we're learning about this as well in our study of it, that there's far more than we would ever know as citizens. And casinos of all forms of gambling are the most addictive, just by the fact that it's constant. It's the machines are made faster and faster. The slot machines, the ATM machine. They have ATM machines on the floor. They pump in oxygen. So everything is to encourage people to gamble more, lose more, gamble more. And and there's something that happened. We found it from CAMH that if you become addicted, there is actually a change in your brain, so that it is really hard for people that have developed this addiction to break the habit. And then if you put it where it is so accessible for them, they will fall off the wagon. That it is a guarantee. The problem gambling is going to go up.
Conversely, some will argue that we're individual, responsible adults. We have control over our decisions and our choices. So the state entrusts us with our driving, with our drinking, smoking. If gambling could be placed in that same prism as smoking and drinking, why can't we trust citizens to regulate their choices?
Well, it's a completely different game, right? Because when we're talking about alcohol and cigarettes, the government actually does take measures to reduce our harm. You can't buy alcohol 24/7. If you go to a bar, they'll cut you off when you've had too much. They won't encourage you through loyalty programs. And cigarettes are hid behind covers, and there isn't these sexy advertisements promoting it from our very government. The OLG does actually through advertising and through on-floor ATMs and all sorts of other measures, they encourage problem gambling. It's a different approach.
Also, gambling does exist. We're not an anti-gambling group. Prohibition doesn't work, and there is gambling in the province. There has been for years legal gambling. What we're against this aggressive expansion. That's why I keep going back to these numbers. That is enormous, and that will have to come at the cost of Ontarians, because we know it. It isn't going to be the tourists. It is going to be people within the locality, and that kind of push, they know it is going to cause problems. We're not saying take the slots out of racetracks. We're not saying close down lotteries, because lotteries particular are rather harmless. Buy your lottery ticket. But we're talking about a specific aggressive expansion that we're very, very worried about.
And okay, so as you mentioned, we have other gambling avenues in Ontario, Windsor, Niagara Falls. Have those towns seen the problems that those who are against a casino in Toronto precipitate about what'll occur?
Yeah, and
have we seen those in Windsor and Niagara?
Yeah, they have higher rates of problem gambling around those sites, And also the jobs that were promised haven't come through. They have, of course, jobs with the casino that opened up, but since opening the Windsor Casino, I think it was 20% of jobs have been laid off. So it's empty promises.
Coming back to the social problems, there was a CBC report in 2009 connecting gambling and suicides. Can you expand on that relationship?
I think people get so desperate and they can lose money so quickly that there are suicides. But as I'm saying, we're just learning this as well in our study. It is not a well-known fact. And if someone can commit suicide if they go home and commit suicide, the suicide will record at their home. They won't necessarily make the connection that it was from the casino. And if it's like in the casino washroom things, these aren't reported. So yes, we were shocked to find out the extent of suicides, to tell you the truth.
There's also a clip from an entrepreneur, an owner of restaurants in the downtown strip. He is for this casino bid. Let's hear what he has to say.
This is exactly what Toronto needs, and we shouldn't be afraid of this. I like competition. I find, you look at the Four Seasons Hotel, they just built their flagship property in Yorkville. People say, are you afraid of that? I'm not afraid of that at all. I think it brings people to the neighborhood that are in the caliber I'm looking for in my business. I like competition. It gets me out of bed early in the morning, and it makes the city go. So this is what Toronto should be embracing. So I'm very hopeful that the councillors, when they go to vote, they'll think about the jobs it creates, and well-paying jobs. Now, you were mentioning $40,000 to $45,000, $50,000 jobs. Most of my servers in my restaurants make $80,000 a year, $90,000 a year. My managers make $100,000 plus a year. My average senior cook in the kitchen makes $45,000 a year, $40,000 a year. So I think the jobs that you're looking for are absolutely there. And especially with a facility like this, you're going to see that bar raised even higher than what exists in Toronto today. So bring the casino on. Integrated entertainment center, I think, will be spectacular for Toronto. It's going to be a shot in the arm. And to say no to $3 to $4 billion in investment in our core would be probably one of the biggest mistakes we ever made.
So coming back to the topic of the economic opportunity, the economic development that will come with it, how might this venture by the city, if it chooses to go on it in April, impact those economic considerations? Because a lot of people see that as an avenue to further expand their business, employment, and job opportunities.
Well, if we look at examples, like if we look at Atlantic City, they had a thriving entertainment and restaurant scene before the casinos on the boardwalk went in. And since then, we've seen all, but I think there's 287 left. So
287 restaurants and local businesses went out of business around the area. I think this man's facts, it's Mark McEwen, you said?
Mark McEwen.
I think he is working with them, is he not? They have.
I'm not sure.
I believe, correct me, I may be wrong on this, but I think he is also working with the casinos that they would, in fact, bring him into their plan. So the BIA, the downtown BIA, is very divided on this. A lot of, they have not come out, they can't come out in favor of it, because a lot of them are we know, are very nervous about their restaurants. And because we go back to it, they subsidize. They subsidize alcohol. They subsidize the restaurants, the entertainment. They go into direct competition. They don't complement. They go into competition with other businesses. And the fact is, it's many cities. People, if they go to our website, nocasinotoronto.com, and you go under casino facts, you'll see all our facts, and they're sourced. So they'll show where we got them, and you can see all the experts that talk. We have urban planners and architects supporting us, Jack Diamond, Ken Greenberg, Richard Florida, he's an urban planner.
On that topic of the people who are invested or who have vested interests in the casino, what is the influence lobbyists have been playing both with the province and with the city?
It's a good question. When we looked just at the city, one of the most alarming things that stood out for me was in 2012, half of all new lobbyist registrations with the city were from casino representatives. So there's been a huge push that we haven't seen a push on this scale.
And who are they lobbying specifically?
For the
Are it the
casino.
councillors? Who are
The
they?
councils, yeah. You can, there's the Toronto lobbyist registration, and you can just search casino in there, and it comes up with lists and lists and all the time they spent with the councillors. So it's really important that Torontonians speak with their councillors too and tell them how they feel, because they've already heard from the lobbyists.
From your vantage point, how is it looking in terms of the 44 councillors? Are they leaning or?
We're hopeful. There's that
hopeful.
article in the Star just yesterday that's saying that council's leaning towards saying no casino.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean we're giving up. We know that this is a really important issue, and the lobbyists have been in City Hall.
And where does Rob Ford stand on it?
He's pro-casino.
He's pro-casino.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the most intensive lobbying in the history of Toronto. The OLG alone in promotion, which you might have seen on television, at the movies, radio, newspapers, it's $5.75 million they've spent in a few weeks to promote this. Our question is, if it's so wonderful, why do they have to have intense lobbying?
Could this go to a city-wide public referendum?
Well,
is there any mechanism to trigger that?
It's a good question. Suspiciously, right before the OLG announced their modernization plan, they took out the legislation saying that cities have to hold a referendum to decide on the matter.
Who took that out? The city or
the province took that away from the city.
From which act? From the City of Toronto Act?
No,
or
from
the Gaming Act.
The Gaming Act. Yeah. This is prior to the whole announcement.
Yeah, and then they announced the modernization plan. So the city doesn't have, can't hold a referendum on it.
So it really comes down to the 44 councillors and the mayor's vote, I'd imagine.
But we have held a referendum. In 1997, a referendum was held for Metropolitan Toronto, and 70% of residents said no to a casino.
No to a casino. So this issue has come up.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for joining us on this show.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time, Maureen and James. Dear viewers, Dear viewers, the arrival of casinos will no doubt bring much needed dollars to our provincial and city coffers. However, that money brings a significant social cost to our city. Its presence can create addictions that were not previously present, which can ruin lives and families, as well as affect neighborhoods. Our community has established ourselves for at least 20 years. It is important we have our voices heard on issues that affect our local communities. However you decide on this issue, ensure you have your opinion heard to your local city councillor. Next on our program is the new chair of the Canadian Tamil Alumni Association, Prashant C. Chandramohan. As the new chair, he brings a new vision. And on our show, he's willing to share what the organization is about and what his vision is for this coming year. Thank you, Prashant.
Thank you, Parthi.
Thank you for joining us. So to allow our viewers to get a better understanding, what is CTAA?
The Canadian Tamil Alumni Association was formed in 2008. We're a non-political, non-partisan, non-profit organization that focuses on three key mandates: professional development, professional networking, and mentorship. We currently have a board of 13 board of directors. This year we're implementing an advisory board, and also we're expanding our subcommittee as well of core supporters.
Okay. And what's the value, and by alumni, it's generally young Tamil Canadian students who've graduated from universities in Canada or more in Ontario. What's the value they would receive from joining an organization like yours?
Right. Well, that is actually a good question. In 2008, the organization was formed by 4 former TSA presidents who graduated and realized that there was a void in our community of a lack of a professional association specifically for the Canadian Tamil community. We do have the Canadian Tamil Chambers of Commerce, which focuses on profits and business and finance, but there was a lack of a professional association that spanned across a variety of sectors. So our organization focuses on connecting people together through professional development and networking opportunities.
And what are some of I guess, the practical benefits. I think for a lot of young people in our community, they're finding it my brother-in-law for challenge, like, in his batch, they just graduated, they're looking at different opportunities and they're finding certain challenges. How does networking enable young Tamil graduates to gain better opportunities and avenues for employment?
Right. Well, networking is essential. I think, in my personal opinion, networking is almost like building friendships. You follow up on friends, you show them the same love and care to your networks. And when your network expands, there shouldn't be any shame in just reaching out to your networks and letting them know that, you're looking for a new opportunity career-wise, or you're looking for a career change, or even resources to grow in your respective careers. But respectively for young individuals who are just finishing university, college, or trade schools, we provide our mentorship program, where we connect recent graduates with seasoned professionals or young professionals such as ourselves, so they can have an opportunity to connect with those who've already gone through that journey 10, 15 years down the road, or 5 years down the road, and to see if this is a good fit for them industry-wise.
That's an interesting program you guys offer, connecting young graduates with already relatively seasoned older graduates who are established themselves in the field. What gain do the older professionals receive in that relationship? How would you convince them to, for some of our viewers who are older and looking to mentor, how would you, I guess, attract?
For mentor benefits, I would say it exposes them to new industry trends. For example, let's say you had an individual who had 15 years of experience in the finance industry. You have a recent graduate who's exposed, who just recently graduated, understands the new market trends, the new the trends that are out there. There is a mutually beneficial exchange of information, of new ideas, and innovation that can be spurned from the differences. So you have on one spectrum an individual with a lot of experience, and you have another individual, the recent graduate, who has a lot of new ideas that can be formed.
And can you tell us about some of your previous events that have enabled networking and career development?
Right. So all our events always go back to our 3 core mandates: professional networking, professional development, and mentorship. In regards to professional development, we host several workshops throughout the year. Our next one is actually March 2nd by Ahilan Balachandran, a certified financial planner. And we've titled the event Building Personal Wealth 101. It's actually targeted specifically for individuals between 20 to 30, recent grads, new emerging professionals who are looking to build financial wealth in the long term. Ideas such as estate planning, these are new concepts in our community. Ideas of how to effectively use RRSPs and TFSA accounts and so forth. So that is our next workshop. But previous workshops included healthy life balance, other investment seminars, other workshops specific to industries. In regards to our professional networking, our 2 key events that we hold each year are the Toast to Success, which generally happen every summer. This is our 3rd year we'll be doing Toast to Success. Last year, we partnered up with the CTCC, the Canadian Tamil Chamber of Commerce. This year, we'll actually be partnering up with FETNA. So we had an exciting opportunity, and both political advocacy bodies in the Canadian Tamil community, both NCCT and CTC, both support FETNA. And so we're very excited to be collaborating and doing a young professionals event specifically for them that weekend. And then we have the Black and White Affair, and that is our main gala for the year, where we'll be able to recap and also offer an opportunity for an expanded membership to network with each other.
Your organization, is it generally catered to those who are working in the private sector? Or, a lot of people think, when they think professional networking, they think business networking, they think, the Bay Street crowd, the financial sector. Is it limited to that, or is your organization open to those who are working for the government, working in the public sector?
Okay. Well, right now, we're trying to formalize our membership process and obtain all those analytics. Generally, from my observations, there is a trend where there are more private sector workers. That's where the opportunities are. But even when I look at my own, the board of CTAA, about 40% of them are public sector workers, including myself. So there is almost a balance, I would say. And to sell professional networking to public sector workers is not a hard sell. I think there is always a value in that. Everyone recognizes in the current market trend the value of having a strong network and being connected with influential decision makers.
You know, you spoke about CTA's 3 core mandates. In terms of a vision, what do you see the value the organization not only extends to the individual, but also to the wider Tamil community?
I see that a hybrid culture is arising, the Canadian Tamil culture. And especially there's a sense of identity post-2009 and of how things are evolving. The way I see CTAA playing a role is really catering to this void of young professionals who are trying to understand where they fit in their new home in Canada. So providing opportunities and connecting young professionals together to accumulate capital. We live in a capitalist society, and understanding the benefits of accumulating capital, and over time our work, you know, decades down the road, is going to prove beneficial in the sense where these individuals then become connected to key influential policymakers or have the economic means to really influence and build communities. And so that is the long-term strategic vision that I see how CTA benefits in that. This is the same mandate, for example, that you see in the Maitree Foundation. The Maitree Foundation was posed with the same question, and they recognized that in the top echelons of corporate structures and policy makers in municipal and provincial and federal governments, there was a void of diversity. So there was the creation of this network. So CTA fills that same mandate, but specific to the Canadian Tamil community and this emerging identity of what it means to be Canadian Tamil.
So would you say is it fair to connect that CTA's long-term vision, where it's 5 or 10, 20-year vision, that's the real connection with the Tamil part of the, because from what I understand, the mentorship and the development stuff is very career or business focused, right? Or professional focused.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas the connection to the community has a longer-term implication, vision.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you know, as a culture, what defines a culture? It's one of those things that anthropologists have always argued over. What is the definition of it? But essentially, it's shared values. And as we grow up, as we start forming families and so forth, we're still going to retain this Canadian Tamil, this new hybrid culture together. And so those values are unique, respective to other cultural groups that exist in the GTA or throughout Canada. And so by staying connected together, we retain that, but understanding that there are unique challenges and opportunities by having these shared values that for upward corporate mobility or so forth.
And further speaking to that idea of a 10 to 20-year vision of how our community is going to evolve, you spoke of the realities post-2009. You know, many people in our community speak of we have to be united. We constantly hear the Jewish community example. Do those same dreams, ambitions, do they connect with how you see our community evolving? Or is our reality a distinct reality?
I think personally, in this lifetime, we chose to be born as Tamil. That's the way I see it. And with that, it comes a sense of a unique identity, which is going to be formed. And I think this next decade is going to be the formative years of what this new culture is. I mean, if you look at the American Tamil culture as opposed to the English Tamil culture, there is uniqueness in the Canadian Tamil culture, which you won't find. And having a strong network of professionals in a variety of sectors and industries is going to form powerful bonds, which the tangible results will be seen a decade from now, I think.
So you mentioned your professional development event that's happening March 2nd.
Yes, yeah.
Any other development events or networking events that will be coming up in this year that young grads can connect with?
Definitely. We'll be going full swing with our mentorship program, which we've titled Palam as in bridge, in Tamil. Nice. And we'll be having an exclusive event this coming October, and we'll be engaging the various TSAs in the Greater Toronto area to be a part of that. Our next event is the March 2nd workshop. We'll be having another one in April. In early July, we'll be partnering with FETNA in regards to Toast to Success, and our Black and White Affair will be in late December. In between, we'll be having further professional development workshops.
How can people join your organization or find out more information about your group?
Well, there's two main ways. You can either log on to our website, tamilalumni.ca, or search for us on Facebook, Canadian Tamil Alumni Association, CTAA, and join us on Facebook for all the recent updates.
That's all the time we have today, but thank you, Prashant, for making time.
Thank you, Parthi. Thanks for having me.
Dear viewers, last year we hosted an important discussion on our community's adoration of Indian artists versus support of our own local Canadian Tamil artists. Tonight, there's a terrific opportunity to hear some amazing singers from Toronto and our own Steve Cliff, who are releasing an album, Tunes of Passion. This release, Tunes of Passion, is tonight at 5:30 p.m. at the Metropolitan Centre at Kennedy and Finch. We hope to see you there. Thank you, dear viewers, for tuning into TVI's Crossroads. I'm Parthi Kandaval, and have yourself a good week.
தமிழரின் பிம்பம் உங்கள் டிவி.